it's almost like a gauntlet, isn't it? You know, I told you a couple of weeks ago, stop blaming me for all the banking woes, and I'm going to tell you now, which is get on and do some fiscal stimulus. We've done our lot. But what does all of this conversation do to the currency?
Not a whole load, but I mean the currency's got through a couple of sort of roadblocks, if you like, in the last week. So the last Friday you were talking about the BDRS review of Portugal, out of the way.
Yeah.
Spanish lack of government, out of the way. You'll talk about Italian politics for several more weeks to come,
yes.
No doubt. But economy trundling along. You know, it's not getting worse at all at the moment. It's all sort of not doing anything very much. So I think what you have is some headwinds for the currency sort of getting themselves out of the way. A currency which is weakening a little bit, which Mario Draghi likes, on the back of the US, on the back of a stronger dollar. It's nothing to do with the euro. It's one of a multitude of currencies that are a bit soft against the dollar. The danger is forever, if they do taper their bond purchases, if they don't go on buying bonds, what then? The dollar went up a lot when they first did it in the States. Could that send the euro much higher?
What happens to euro-dollar if we see a hike in December from the Fed and we see renewed impetus, redesign of quantitative easing and an extension of quantitative easing from the ECB? So what happens?
I think in that environment we dribble lower in this range. So
even that big divergence in monetary policy is enough to just give us a dribble down for the euro.
Yeah, I think if we get an extension to the bond purchases, then that'll confirm what the market expects, as opposed to break new ground. And the US isn't a question about the December hike now. It's a question about, do we get one or two or not more.
But this is what you chatted to us in the break, and we took the WIRP function, WIRP, and we did a little bit of manipulation on it. And you said, look, model this for December of next year, which is the 13th of December next year, and have a think about what's the propensity, what's the market pricing and the ability to rates be above 1% by December of next year. And that stands unequivocally at 12%. That has dropped away. This is the whole point. We might trade on divergence now. In other words, a strong dollar divergence, a stronger Fed, a wider Fed. But the reality is the market's not necessarily pricing that stronger divergence.
Right, and you have to take sort of two sides of that. One is, what would send the dollar significantly higher is pricing a significantly higher probability of the end point of rate hikes. So getting away from the idea, so if the market thinks there's not much chance of rates above 1 at the end of next year, it's really saying 1 this year, 1 next year. There could be a second next year, but we don't really think so. We're learning this slow pace. That's pretty good for emerging markets, pretty good for equities. It's pretty friendly for everything. Move that number up by some material amount, better for the dollar, worse for risk, more uncertain for the global environment, taking us a little bit away from the Goldilocks outlook. But that's what matters. December doesn't matter in that sense now.
So how strong does the dollar go next year then? Not all that much stronger from what you said.
No, I'm no different to everybody else who sat and watched the Fed raise rates once last year and once this year, and thinking, wow, these people take a lot to move. There's a lot of sort of lack of activity going on there. So yeah, slowly stronger. And the flip side of that, which is, if the ECB were to change policy, and European investors buy hundreds of billions of foreign bonds every year at the moment because they're being crowded out by the ECB, then the euro can go up more.